Michael Shikha Niketan Higher Secondary Government Sponsored Co-ed English Medium School has taken an excellent initiative of teaching and make our students learn day-to-day lessons through audio and video in our YouTube channel. Teachers of all the subjects are working hard to enhance these online classes in the midst of this pandemic situation. It is a request to all the teachers, students and guardians to click the bell icon and subscribe our channel.
Today we are going to start sexual reproduction in flowering plants, which is basically a syllabus which is under class 10 under the unit continuity of life, and the subject is life science. So before starting this chapter, we need to understand these two basic things. First, the foremost question that comes to our mind is, what is sexual reproduction? What is sexual reproduction? Sexual reproduction is basically the type of reproduction which involves two different kinds of parents, one a male and a female, which produces two different types of gametes, the male gamete and the female gamete. Okay? So that is the sexual reproduction. And there is another type of reproduction, as we know, that is asexual reproduction, but that involves only one parent. You don't need to have male gamete and female gamete for that. Okay? So what is sexual reproduction? It is the reproduction involving two parents producing two different gametes. Now what are the names of the gametes? They are the male gamete and the female gamete. Okay? Now since in this chapter we are going to learn about the sexual reproduction in flowering plants, we are going to learn first what is the definition of a flower. What do you mean by a flower? Suddenly why are we reading about flower in a sexual reproduction part? So basically flower is the reproductive structure of a flowering plant, okay, and it is the modified form of a shoot, right? So what is a flower? A flower is a reproductive structure of a flowering plant and it is a modified form of a shoot. So now we are going to study about the typical structure of a flower, okay. So what is a typical structure of flower consisting of? So here you can see I have put on a chart of a very beautiful flower and it has all the diagrams of the different parts, okay. So basically before getting into the details, we need to learn that a flower basically has four different types of holes. There are four holes of a flower. So now these four holes are divided into two types. Now what are those? Number one is the essential holes and the next one are the accessory holes. Okay. So what is the essential hole consisting of? The essential hole consists of androecium and the gynoecium. Okay. So we'll learn about this later. Let us first move on to the next, that is the accessory flower, which is of two types, that is the calyx and the corolla. Okay. Now based on the presence of these four types of holes, flowers can be divided into two types. Okay. Flowers can be divided into two types. Now complete flower are the flowers which has all these four holes. So the flower which has all the four holes, that is calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, they are known as complete flowers. Now you can take an example, say hibiscus, right? And the roses, they are all complete flowers because they have all the different types of holes which are present. And the next one is the incomplete flower, which does not have one or two holes, okay, which is not consisting of all the holes. So that is why they are known as incomplete flower. For example, you can take the gourds, right? The different types of gourds, they have separate male flowers and female flowers, they are different. So that is what is complete flower and incomplete flower. So now we'll discuss about the two types of accessory holes, okay. So the first type of accessory hole is the calyx. Now before I read it out, let me just show you this diagram. You see over here, this is the calyx, okay. So this is the calyx and this is the other accessory hole, that is the corolla. So first we are going to talk about this. So this is basically the calyx and each of these units, can you see this these leafy structures, they are known as the sepals, okay. So now we'll come to the details of this calyx, okay. So what does it say? Number one, it is the outermost protective covering. So that means when a flower is just born, it protects the calyx protects the flowers completely. So that is why it is the outermost protective covering. Okay, and the individual units are called sepals. So each of those individual leafy units, they are called as sepals. They are mostly green. Mostly they are green, as we can see. They are mostly green and they fall off with the formation of fruit. So when the fruit evolves or when the fruit is formed, then these calyx, the sepals, they fall off. Okay. And what is the function? Accessory holes basically has one common function, that is protection, protecting the essential holes of a flower. So one function is protection, and since it is green in color, so it will definitely aid in photosynthesis. So that is one of the function of calyx. Now we are going to come about the different types of sepals. Now we can see different types of flowers. Number one, if you consider rose, if you see rose, then you will see the sepals, they are separated. All the sepals, each of those sepals, they are like this. Each of those sepals, they are like this, they are separated. So when they are separated, then they are known as polysepalous. Okay. So we find this in case of rose. But if we look at hibiscus, the hibiscus will look like this. The sepals are going to, the calyx is going to look like this in case of hibiscus. So that is gamosepalous, where the sepals, they are fused or they are united. Okay. Now we are going to come to the next part or the next type of accessory hole, that is known as the corolla. Now we'll move on to this diagram. You see, these are known as the corolla, this part which are known as petals. Each of the subunits of corolla is known as petals, right? So this is the second protective hole. I told you that accessory holes has one common function, that is protecting the essential holes. So this is one of the holes, protective holes, and the other, these are multicolored. Where we saw over here, in case of calyx, we saw that they are mostly green, and here we are going to see they are mostly multicolored. You see different types of petals, right? Different types of flowers. And they are leafy, and each of the units, they are called as petals. Now we are going to come to the function of corolla. One function, so we have told, it provides protection to the essential holes, and the other function is, since they are very multicolored, it attracts pollinators towards the flowers. So that is one of the function, that it aids in pollination or it attracts insects for pollination. Now similarly, the petals also, they can be separated in different flowers or they can be united. So when the petals are separated, when the petals are completely separated, like in hibiscus, if I take this is a hibiscus flower, then you will see that all the petals, they are separated. So this type of arrangement is known as polypetalous. Okay. And if they are fused, like say in datura, have you seen the flower datura? It looks like this. It somehow looks like this. So all the petals, they are united. So that is known as gamopetalous. Okay. So that's it. Okay. So now we are going to come to the essential holes of the flower, or the holes which are basically involved in the reproduction of the flower. So one of the essential holes, as I have already said, is the androecium, and the other is the gynoecium. Now before getting over here, we will concentrate on this part where we are going to learn about the different types of reproductive holes. Number one, that is androecium, as you can see. Now this androecium is basically containing this rod-like structure which is known as a filament, and these small bean-like structures which are present above, they are known as the anther. Okay, and this individual subunit, the individual subunit of an androecium is basically called the stamen. Okay, so the stamen has two types or two parts, the rod-like filament which I have shown you, and the other one is the anther, and this anther basically contains pollen. Okay, and it is the male part of the flower, I have already told you that. And regarding its function, what is its function? Its function is the production of male gametes. Now we are going to come to the female part of the flower, that is known as the gynoecium. If you look at the gynoecium of the pistil, we'll see that this part, this is the gynoecium, and it has three basic parts. The first, the uppermost part of the gynoecium is known as the stigma. Okay, it is known as the stigma, Then this rod-like structure, this is known as the style, and this rod-like structure continues into this structure which is known as the ovary. And this ovary, we know in sexual reproduction in humans and in other animals there are ovaries, and these ovaries, they produce ovules. Okay, so let's come over here. So this is the innermost part of the flower and it is the female part. So the innermost flower is a part of the flower is the gynoecium, and it is the female part, and the individual units, they are called as carpels. Okay. Now these carpels, they are of three types. I told you three parts of a carpel: stigma, style and ovary. And style, ovary contains ovules. Okay, and ovary is the site of fertilization. That fertilization takes place in ovaries. Now inside this ovaries, as you can see, the ovules, they are arranged in different arrangements or in different patterns in different flowers. So that arrangement of ovules inside the ovary is known as placentation. Okay, and function of the gynoecium part is it produces ovules and it is the site of fertilization. That's it. So what is pollination? Pollination is basically the transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma of the stem or the different flower. That means pollination is a process through which the reproduction takes place. That is, reproduction in flowers or in plants, they take place. So it is basically the transfer of the pollen grains from one flower to another flower. Okay, it might be the same flower as well. Matlab from one to another, when there is a transfer, that is known as the pollination. So now we are going to come to the types of pollination. Now based on this type where the anther and stigma, they are related, whether they are of the same flower or different flower, depending on that, pollination can be of two types: self-pollination and cross-pollination. So what is self-pollination? When the pollination takes place from the anther of one flower to the stigma of the same or different flower of the same plant. So that is very important. We should know that self-pollination always occur in the same plant. It depends that it can be the anther, the pollen grains from one flower to another flower of the same plant, or it also can be the pollen of the same flower getting into the stigma of the same flower. Okay, so this is very important. So self-pollination can be of two types: autogamy and geitonogamy. Autogamy involves when the pollination takes place within the same flower. Okay, that is from the anther, the pollen grain comes out and falls in the stigma of the same flower. So that is autogamy. And what is geitonogamy? Geitonogamy is when the anther or the pollen grain falls on a different flower but in the same plant. So that is the geitonogamy. Now we are going to come to the next part of the pollination, the type of pollination, that is known as the cross pollination. Here what happens? Here the pollen grains from one plant always transfer to a separate plant, completely separate plant. Now that plant can be of the same species, like one hibiscus, pollen from one hibiscus flower can fall into this another hibiscus flower, or it can also fall into some closely related species. Okay. So let's go through this, whatever is written. From the anther, when the pollination takes place, from the anther of one flower to the stigma of a flower of a different plant, that is same or closely related species. Now this cross pollination again can be of two types, where the pollination takes place within the same species, that is known as xenogamy, and when it is taking place in closely related species, that is taking place, that is known as hybridism. So now we are going to talk about the agents of pollination. Now what is agents of pollination? Agents of pollination means the medium through which the pollination takes place. The pollen cannot just itself walk to the next flower, right? You need to have some medium through which the pollen grains are going to move from one flower to the next. So what are those agents? The agents can be of four types. One is air, another is water, another one is, it can be insects, or it can be birds. Now they have separate names given to each of this type of pollination that takes place to these different types of agents. The first one is air. Through air, when the pollination takes place, that type of pollination is called as anemophily. So what is anemophily? Anemophily is the type of pollination that takes place through air. Now where is it found? It can be found in paddy. Paddy undergoes anemophily. Now what are the characters? I have given some of the characters of the pollen grains and the flowers. Now what are these? Since they have to flow through the air, so the pollen grains, they need to be very lightweight, okay, and they are produced in huge amounts, because when the air blows, there are very less chances for the pollen grains to fall on the particular flower. So the flowers, they produce huge amount of pollen grains, so that there is a greater probability of getting into one flower. The next type of pollination, that is known as hydrophily, that takes place through water. Now it is found in water plants, all kinds of water plants, for example hydrilla. Now what are the characters? The pollen grains, they are impervious to water. Now it is very important that the pollen grains, they are waterproof, right? Because they will flow in water, so they need to be waterproof. So the next part is the flower. Male flower is positioned superiorly than the female flowers. Now this is very important. Now since it is water, so you need to have the male part before the female part, so that it becomes easier for the pollen grains to travel. Now it is found in hydrilla. Now we are coming to the next type of pollination, that is known as the entomophily, which takes place through the agent which are insects. Now when insects are involved, so nectars are definitely involved in those flowers or plants. So nectars are present, and the other one is anthers, they project outward. Now listen, now see, if an insect is positioning inside a flower to have the nectar of that particular flower, so it is very important that the anthers are out, so that it gets into the body, of the insect, so that when that insect travels to the next flower, again the pollen grains that is all over its body gets into that next flower when it goes and have the nectar of the other flower. So for example, mango. Now we are coming to the last part of the agent of pollination, that is the ornithophily, which is taken place by birds or through birds. Now example is shemule. Now it is very important because these bird ornithophily is basically taking place in flowers which are very huge and very brightly colored, because it needs to attract the birds. So bright colored flowers and flowers are huge or large in size. So in this part we are going to learn about fertilization and its process. Okay. So this is basically the diagram which I have tried to draw, that involves the different steps of fertilization. Okay. Now what happens? Let's read the points and I'll show you over here. The first point is pollen grains from the anther, they reach the stigma. So at first what happens to the different types of agents of pollination? These pollens, they fly and come in the stigma of that required flower. So when the flowers, when the pollen grains, they sit on this particular stigma of a flower, then it germinates into a pollen tube. So this is basically the pollen tube which is generated through the pollen, or the pollen grains. The generative cells produces the male gametes. So inside this pollen tube there are these generative cells which produce the male gametes. Next what happens? Now this pollen tube will carry the sperm or the male gamete inside till over here, till this ovary part, and it will reach over here. So what happens next? Fertilization will take place. Now the zygote is formed by the union of the male and the female gametes. Now after the union of the male and the female gametes, the zygote will be produced. Now this zygote will again divide into forming a cluster of cells, that is known as the embryo. Now when the embryo is formed, now this ovary is going to get itself transferred into a fruit, whereas the ovules will get transferred into the seed. Okay, and what happens? And after this fertilization process is over and the seeds and the fruits, they are produced, then the seed, it germinates into a new plant. So that's the end of the video. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Leave a like and comment. Subscribe. And do share the video among your friends.